Hey guys, it's me, Ron Ed. I just watched one of 1005's videos, left some comments on there, left one long one, and I thought I better come on here and kind of better explain what I was getting at. It seems to me that the two rooms, 32 135 and 32 134, not a whole lot of steps were taken to preserve that crime scene. Now, I would think that after an hour, they took an hour apparently to breach the room, so they basically planned for an hour, it seems, before they went in. The shooting had apparently stopped, so they thought they had time. Well, if they thought they had time, it seems to me that they would have got together a true SWAT team, and along with some detectives, and the SWAT team goes in, clears both rooms. Detectives go in immediately after, make sure the crime scene is locked down, nothing gets touched until they can investigate. Now I realize that at this time, during that hour, there was a lot of shooting reports up and down the strip, a lot of chaos, a lot of injured people. But they knew at this time, at the time of the breach, they knew that shots were coming out of those rooms, supposedly. They supposedly knew this at that time. So given that that's the case, why not, and you're going to take an hour to breach to make sure that there's not going to be any more shots. If you're going to take that hour, why not put together a group that's trained to do that instead of, a bunch of officers from varying degrees of experience, trampling all over a crime scene that might be, that's probably going to be important to your investigation. I mean, it's frustrating. It's like they botched it from Jump Street. Now, obviously there is perceived incompetence. I mean, for God's sake, one of the officers shot off 3 rounds, supposedly, in 134, negligently. Was he shooting at his own shadow? I don't know. I can't believe that a trained SWAT officer would have done that. But, who knows? I realize adrenaline was pumping, probably. They were scared. I would be. But yeah, I mean, it just seems like if you're taking over an hour to plan this and get ready, then you need to have the proper personnel, ready to go, I mean, now, if they would have breached immediately, then I would understand it. But they didn't. They took over an hour to plan this. And I know, like I said, I know that there was other stuff going on up and down the street, but you've got hundreds of officers up and down the street, to deal with that. You know for sure shots are coming, or shots have came from these rooms. You know for sure that this is one of your crime scenes. You know for sure that this needs to be preserved. So you should know, and you have an hour to plan your attack, so to speak. How you're going to do this, and that's the best you can do. I don't know, man. It don't add up to me. Now, as I was saying in my comment on Tim's channel, I really hope that perceived incompetence is, I don't know I do know what's worse, but is the perceived incompetence actual incompetence? Are they covering up for something else? Is it part of the bigger cover-up, Because they obviously covered stuff up, obviously. I don't think that there's anybody that doesn't think that they covered anything up. Now, to what degree they covered things up, I think that's where everybody disagrees. You got people that want to go straight with the narrative who don't think they covered up much of anything. But I think for the majority of us, we know they covered up something. Now, my problem was the perceived incompetence and the lack of preserving that crime scene and the lack of limiting contamination in that room. Was that, just because that was the best they could do, or was that to add to the, to start the cover-up, to add the cover-up? Not to mention, that you got Sheriff Lombardo going on the news pushing this lone wolf narrative while his officers are going up and down the strip responding to other shootings, supposedly, other reports of shootings. How does that jive? I mean, how's that wash? I don't understand. You can't know that it's a lone wolf, especially when your officers are responding to other shots fired. It's counterintuitive. No, nobody would do that, or well, at least you wouldn't think anybody would do that. But that's what happened. It bothers me, and it should bother everybody. Now, like I said, I don't pretend to know what all they were covering up. Like I said, I hope that the perceived incompetence, I don't know what's worse, if it was true incompetence or if it was incompetent, make it appear to be incompetence to cover up for something more sinister. I hope that's not the case. But then again, you also want your police department to be competent. So, what do you do? But yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with this, I've, even though I haven't been making videos for the last year and couple months, I have commented and have kept a pretty close eye on Vegas, and it just, I waited on the reports to come out, both the preliminary and the final fit report, and hoping I would get some satisfaction out of it and, satisfy my curiosities about things, but no, it was far from it, I mean, if anything, it made it worse, they made it worse. Yeah, I know I smoke, I shouldn't, I'm trying to quit, hard thing to do. Anyway, but point is, I don't know what, whether it was just, I hope the incompetence wasn't a cover-up, but then I hate that that there's perceived incompetence anyway, because, that's a scary thing, because there's a lot of people that go to Vegas every year, and vacation there, and you want to feel like you're at least reasonably protected when you go. If this is who's protecting you, yeah, and I don't want to bash on Las Vegas, but if you ask me, they've kind of been digging their own grave, I mean, not Las Vegas, but the LVMPD. They've been digging their own grave because their lack of transparency throughout this whole thing, Lombardo hollering lone wolf before he even has investigated all the reports of shots fired. It just, it just gives cause for pause. And then not only that, but then, the changing timelines when he was caught dead to rights, misleading the public on the timeline changes, and yet he didn't want to admit it until he was forced to by, I think, Laura Loomer and some others. It just doesn't pass the smell test, in my opinion, and it warrants at least more investigation. And I don't know what the FBI report's going to show, but I am curious to see, because the LVMPD report is just not answering any questions, you know, it's not. And I haven't seen any mainstream media channels who's had the opportunity to interview Lombardo to ask him any of these hard questions, you know, and it just blows my mind, you know. Now, who did the shooting? There's officers that said that Paddock looked to be dead longer, you know, earlier, too early, to, you know, too long to have been the person doing the shooting. Now, you know, whether that's true or not, I don't know. I wasn't there. But you would think that an officer, you know, if he had any experience whatsoever with crime scenes like that, and I assume he did, I hope he did, would know, you know, could look at a body and kind of guess how, you know, at least something that important, guess how, if he's been dead too long to have been the shooter, you know, wouldn't put that out there unless I was sure. I wouldn't think, but then, you know, some people just like to talk, so I don't know. I don't know. I just wouldn't think that an officer would say that unless he really thought that Paddock had been dead too long to have been the shooter. But then Paddock was the one registered to the room. Paddock did bring all those suitcases up. Paddock did, you know, there was all those guns in Paddock's room. But as Tim has said before, and others have said before, we never see Paddock fire a weapon. You know, we just haven't. So yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at right now. You know, if you, I'd like to know your opinion, what you guys think. You know, comment in the comment section below. Like the video, share, and subscribe. Or if you don't like the video, don't. Thanks, guys.